It's time for an inside look at the most powerful motorsport on the planet. WFO Radio, NHRA Nitro.
It's the most exciting sport on earth as far as I'm concerned.
Take a walk through the Nitro pits as we go one-on-one with the stars of drag racing.
Hey, you're with Matt Hagan. This is Ron Capps, Matt Hagan's personal friend. You're on WFO.
Featuring the NHRA's Alan Reinhart.
Our events are truly an experience. They're not just a spectator event. They are an experience.
So get in, sit down, and hold on with host Joe Castello as he goes WFO.
Thanks, brother. Always love being on WFO, baby. Nobody brings it to you better than you, brother.
Now crank it up. It's time to go WFO. Here's your host, Joe Castello.
Hey everybody, Joe Castello here, getting ready for Race 2 of the NHRA Countdown. That's right, Worldwide Technology Raceway at Gateway. Talking about St. Louis, the AAA Midwest Nationals, and we are about to get after it. We have got a great week of interviews for you. You are going to hear Austin Prock, you are going to hear J.R. Todd, and you are going to hear Steve Torrance, all talking about the championship. That's right, Steve-O is going to give us his thoughts after getting bounced first round in the first race. How do they feel? Are they confident? You're going to hear all that. But right here, right now, you are going to hear the voice of the NHRA, Alan Reinhart, as we preview the race. Reinhart just seconds away, the voice of the NHRA. But right now, I want to thank the sponsors that make it possible, talking about samtech.edu, the School of Automotive Machinists and Technology. Accelerate your career. That's what we always say. But what are we talking about? We're talking about blockhead CNC programs. Become a machinist. I know you work in an engine shop already, right? You're a mechanic shop. You work in an engine shop. But why wouldn't you want to elevate your knowledge? They've got motorsport EFI tuning. They've got so many great programs down there at samtech.edu. In fact, this week on Factory Stock Podcast, we had graduate Chris Vang, who works for the Kramer family with Pro Stock and Factory Stock and is working on the cars, and he went to Samtech, and he's going to talk all about it on Factory Stock Podcast. Go to samtech.edu to find out more information. MagicDryUS.com. Magic Dry, the official organic absorbent of the NHRA. If you're looking for something for your house, for your shop, for a factory, for an oil rig, it's better for a whole bunch of reasons. Absorbs 560% of its own weight, any viscosity, but it's organic. It's good for the environment in that it's made of coconut. It's also lighter weight, so it travels easy, and it's the official organic absorbent of the NHRA. Why would you not get the Magic Dry at magicdryus.com? They've got great spill kits. Total Seal. TotalSeal.com, the leader in ring seal technology, whatever it is, a nitro-burning car, a Pro Mod, a stocker, an Indy car, a Formula One car, a NASCAR, whatever you're building, they make the rings. And even if it's something totally custom and outrageous, like tuners, imports, motorcycles, they make the piston rings, and they make the best in the business. Go to TotalSeal.com. Frank Hawley's Drag Racing School, the Dragster Adventure and Licensing Courses. It makes a great gift for the holidays, for someone you really love. But what the best part is that it makes a great gift for you. You just show up. I'm here. And they provide you a helmet and a fire suit and a dragster and instruction on how to go race. You make a half track and 2 full track passes. That sounds like 3 burnouts. And a great day experience for the adrenaline junkie, someone who wants to have a good time out there with Frank Hawley. FrankHawley.com. Check it out, the Dragster Adventure. Rodax, coffeeandgrills.com. Marvin Rodak, hot sauces and spice rubs and everything that is great, roasted fresh per your order. Such a great experience. You order one of the WFO radio blends or Bang the Blower or one of the many blends that he creates from coffee beans from all around the world. Right? Kind of like you would blend a scotch with a little of this and a little of that. That's what he does for these drag racing themed blends. And they're roasted fresh per your order, so it's fresh roasted coffee, and the box comes and you open it, and there's the hot sauce and the spice rub and the coffee, and it's amazing. You got to give Marvin a call. Go to rodaxcoffeeandgrills.com or give Marvin a call at 817-924-6821 down there in Fort Worth, Texas. Marvin Rodak, big supporter of WFO Radio. Really appreciate it. Drag Racing Edge Magazine, EV3 Drag Racing, also on board with WFO Radio as we get into the countdown. Race 2 coming at you. Big thanks to all those folks. All right, preview time. Joining us now, he'll be calling the action for Race 2 of the NHRA Countdown here in 2019 at Worldwide Technology Raceway at Gateway, the AAA Midwest Nationals. Alan Reinhart joins us now. Alan, welcome back.
Hey, Joe, great to be back. It's going to be good to be back in St. Louis this week.
I love St. Louis. In fact, St. Louis is one of the tracks. You know that my schedule with the NHRA kind of ramped up, right? Like at first it was just the East Coast races, and then it was like the fully East, fully West, and then the Midwestern races, like St. Louis, came on last for me. This is only my fourth time there. I think it's great. It's a very cool racetrack. It's very close to the city, like city to racetrack. It's got to be one of the best on the tour.
Yeah, it definitely is. It's strange that the racetrack is actually in a different state from the city of St. Louis, but it's still so close. You know, one thing that I miss about it, and the place that we stay in Collinsville is a lovely place. I'm not bad-mouthing that, but there was a couple of years when we stayed in downtown St. Louis, and downtown St. Louis reminds me a little bit of downtown Indy. It's just a nice place to hang out, a lot of restaurants, a lot of places, a lot of clubs if you just want to stick your head in something. And of course, the baseball park's right there. If the Cardinals were in town, then that was something else that you could do. But it's overall, I really appreciate the event. And of course, since Chris Blair's running the racetrack, and he's kind of got a flair for making things a little bigger, a little snazzier, and a little fancier. So that's a good thing as well.
Yes, super excited. All right, so before we get into the Mellow Yellow Series, as we have on this conversation for years, I do want to know what happened up at the JEG'S Sportsnationals. You were calling the action in Ohio, and there was racing all around the country, right? Down in Bristol, they had the Fall Fling. People were racing for $500,000. That was going on. There was action everywhere. What about where you were? What went down?
There was plenty of it. The JEG'S Sportsnationals is certainly a big event for the sportsman racers simply because it's national event points. It's national event, great points and prestige and everything else. But it's an event that is focused on the sportsmen, top dragster and top sportsmen are the fastest classes that are in action there. And great field of race cars, great competition. One of the things that they do there Friday, everybody gets, a couple of hits at the track qualifying or testing, with time runs if you're a .90 racer. But then Saturday, they've got shootout races for everybody. They've got class eliminations for both stock and super stock, and that makes it a fun day with a lot of competition. Then, of course, Sunday you come back and run the actual national event. And just the way the thing is structured, it's a fun deal for the racers. They have a lot of opportunities to get shots at the racetrack and shots to win different things. We did have a little bit of Mother Nature involvement on Saturday afternoon, so we ended up finishing later Saturday night than was originally planned, but everything got run, everything got taken care of, and it turned out all in all to be a pretty good event. It was kind of cool to be back in Columbus. It had been a while since I have been to National Trail Raceway, and so it was nice to go back and revisit an old haunt, so to speak.
Very exciting. I know Terry Smith won in Comp Eliminator, and there was great racing throughout. Anything sticking out in your mind you want to highlight? Any of the Lucas Oil Series racers, divisional racers that were up there that caught your eye?
Well, there was a couple of them, I think, that bear pointing out. Danny Nelson winning top dragster, and I do believe that means he took over the national point lead. There's still quite a bit of racing left to go, and there's a few guys that have races to claim, but that was a big weekend for him, and it was a big deal for him to not only close the deal. He won the shootout race on Saturday night, which is extra cash, and then he also won the race on Sunday, which means he collected his own bounty because I put bounties on all the shootout racers from the day before. So he ended up with a cupcake, since that was my bounty this time, which, by the way, was wildly popular. Let me tell you, if you say over the PA, "Hey, congratulations, Joe, you want a cupcake?" You'd be amazed how fast Joe comes up to the tower and gets his cupcake. But
I would be amazed.
We had a little bit of fun with that. Jeff Taylor won Stock Eliminator, which was his 48th, and I chatted with him a little bit in the winner circle, and he said, I've been thinking about retiring for the last few years. He said, but I really want to win 50. He goes, I really, really want to get to that milestone because, that kind of puts you in a pretty elite group if you won 50 national events. So that was definitely on his mind. In the final round, it was a classic. The guy he raced in the final was a guy named Bill Shrimcott, 70-something years old, with a 66 Nova small block 4-speed stock eliminator car. And he mowed through the field, got to the final round before before Jeff Taylor got the better of him. But that was a great story. Yeah, I think the sentimental vote was certainly on his side. And then Wasco, the guy won top sportsman in the final round, had a parachute failure, ended up going into the sand and just tore the nose off the car. By the time they got that thing out and back in the winner's circle, I'm sure you can go online and find pictures of it, but the car's in the winner's circle without the doghouse on it, and you can see how filthy it is from being dropped in the sand trap. But it was his first national event win, and he wasn't getting a little thing like going in the sand to, dampen his enthusiasm any. So it was a fun event. It always is when the sportsman racers get the spotlight. And what they've done the last couple of years in Bowling Green was JEG'S did a big kind of barbecue party night on Friday. What they did this year was they had movie night. They brought in an inflatable, whatever it was, 25 or 30-foot movie screen. They got 400 pizzas delivered from a local gourmet pizza place and showed Talladega Nights. And that was the Friday night racer appreciation get-together party. And so that was pretty cool. But, JEG'S just does a tremendous job with it. And the guys that are running that racetrack now, Jay Livingston, JJ, and the boys that are taking care of it out there, made a pretty special deal for all the sportsman racers. It was fun.
Very cool. No, I like it. And just I want to let everybody behind the scenes a little bit. Alan's been doing this for a long time, and so it's wise to listen to him when he talks about, doing the job, because that will help me do the job better. So as soon as he says, I put a bounty on some guys, I got to admit, I thought to myself, oh, my gosh, Reinhart's digging in his pocket. He's putting out a bounty. He's pulling out money. How much money is this guy going to put with a bounty? Am I going to have to do this? I don't know, man. Maybe it's a good idea. Maybe I should. And then he says, it was a cupcake. And I thought, well, I can do that. A cupcake. Wow. I'm glad that they responded so well.
Well, it's kind of a West Coast tradition when I do the points races that I put a bounty on. If we do a national event points race back-to-back, I put a bounty on whoever won the national when we go into the points race, and the bounty is $2. Now, I have, and you know this, Joe, yes. I have brand new, crisp, perfect $2 bills, and I've got an envelope of them that I carry around with me, and that's the bounty. And it's become kind of a fun thing out on the West Coast because most guys will take that $2 bill. It'll, get framed someplace. It'll get put up. They're not taking it to go buy a soda with. And so that's become kind of a thing, just like winning $2 means that you accomplished something, but it's like so many things. It's not the trophy itself, it's what it stands for. And in fact, $2 bills are fairly rare. So that's definitely got some traction out here. But when I ran by a local supermarket on Thursday night, and in the bakery section, they had 100 different types of cupcakes, a few of which were chocolate cupcakes with yellow frosting. And I'm telling you, if it wasn't JEG'S yellow, it wouldn't miss them by a whole lot. And I saw them, there was like 3 or 4 of them, and I talked to the lady at the baker, and I said, could I get some more of those? And she said, how many do you need? And I told her, a couple of dozen probably get me by. And she said, take me about a half an hour. And I thought, really? But so it was a JEG'S cupcake. It was chocolate cupcake with yellow frosting, but they were a big hit. Everybody enjoyed them, and it's fun. I'm a huge believer that at some of those events you can do a lot of stuff. It's one of the things I think Pete and Kyle have learned, why so many people like going to their events, because they do little stuff that's just fun. And it also, gives the announcer something to talk about. And it's certainly bragging rights. One of the things that was pretty funny, I thought, Brock Haas beat Devin Eisenhower in Super Comp and won a cupcake. Devin Eisenhower beat whoever was in Super Gas and won a cupcake. And then Rock and Devin had to race each other like 2 rounds later in Super Gas. So it became the first time in the history of the world that 2 cupcake winners were going head-to-head. And, it's just something else to have some fun with and, to hopefully, make the event a little bit more fun than just here's 2 more cars going down the racetrack.
Very exciting, and I appreciate the the announcer methodology conversation. I know we have people that tune in specifically for that, and I do as well. That is great stuff. It's the simple things, right? You mentioned Peter and Kyle on the fling races. I was looking at their, reaction time challenge. X amount of people randomly selected. You get a shot. If you get a 00 light, you get $100. If you get a 000, you get $1,000 and a shot at $10,000. That's what racers want. They build these cars to go fast, but boy, is it hard work just to get there. So you give them more opportunities to feel like a winner, whether it be $100, $1,000, or a cupcake. They're going to take it and appreciate it.
And sometimes it's just a matter of, I got this away from somebody else. You know, when I talked to Danny in the winter circle, Danny Nelson, he said, I'm listening to you earlier in the day, and I'm thinking, I want that cupcake. I don't care about the trophy. I don't care. I'm not giving somebody else a cupcake. And he said, that just was a motivation all day long. And again, it's a funny thing. It doesn't have to be expensive. It doesn't have to be fancy. It just has to be something for a little bit of extra incentive. You know, we used to do stuff out at, started, I think, at Sonoma a number of years ago when we put together a Cool Racer Appreciation Prize. Are you any good with anagrams?
No. Definitely not.
Figure out what Cool Racer Appreciation Prize would be. And it was just stuff like paddock passes for the IndyCar race 2 months ago. And, you know, a half a candy bar that was left up here since last year. And it was, you know, again, a Cool Racer Appreciation Prize. But everybody that won it, but one of them during the course, came up and got it because it was fun and it was funny. And they wanted to be that, you know, look at me, I won this and nobody else did. And, you know, some of that stuff I think just makes the events fun. I've talked to local racers, you know, local event promoters time and time again. It's like, you've got the same bracket racers coming out, you know, every couple of weeks or once a month or whatever your bracket program is. Do something fun with it. You know, put a price on last week's winner. You know, take out last week's winner and win a cheeseburger and a bag of fries or something. Just something. Because the guy that won it is darn sure going to flaunt it to all of his buddies, and it gives your announcer something to talk about. It's fun. It doesn't cost a whole lot. But the racers that win it will darn sure take advantage and brag about the fact that, hey, I won the cheeseburger this week or whatever the prize is.
So who won Cool Racer Appreciation Prize anagram? What was it?
Well, the Cool Racer Appreciation Prize is CRAP, C-R-A-P.
Oh, okay. Crap.
And like I said, we looked around the tower and went, oh, well, here's something that expired 2 months ago, and here's something nobody wants, and here's something we're going to throw away. Okay, we'll make that a Cool Racer Appreciation Prize.
Got it.
Okay, you know, the next guy that runs dead on zero wins this. But the guy everybody that won one of those was excited to win it. And just because it was fun, and it's, you know, I did something that nobody else did. So that's, you know, I'm really big on having fun with some of those races. You know, at the Nationals, there's just so much that's so structured and that's wonderful. You know, it's big time professional racing. That's what it should be. But when you go to a regional race or when you go to a bracket race, or when you go to something, when you can have a little fun and goof off a little bit and have some fun with it, I think you should. And I say the cupcakes were a huge hit. You know, technically speaking, I know it cost me more than it would have if I'd have just done the $2 bill thing, but the cupcakes were a huge hit. So I'm sure I'll do that again. If not before then, if I get invited back to the Sports Nationals next year, we'll do cupcake bounties again.
There you have it. All right, let's turn the page to the Mellow Yellow Series and Worldwide Technology Raceway at Gateway, the AAA Insurance Midwest Nationals, a race that is pivotal on the tour for a lot of people. Now, this week we're going to be speaking with Steve Torrence on the show. We're scheduled to hear from Austin Prock on the show, J.R. Todd on the show, and we're working on some others. You know, interesting position. I don't think there's such a thing as a must-win race in the first two races. But a first-round loss for certain people definitely puts them in a bad spot. Like if Billy Torrence loses first round again, I don't think he's got a shot to win the championship. So maybe it is must-win or certainly must get out of the first round for certain people.
Yeah, I think there's a couple of drivers that need to bounce back. And I put Steve on that list. I'm not saying he needs to win the race, but I think he needs to show me something. You know, the last couple of races, he has certainly had a good car, but he has not had the dominant, look at me, I'm the champion, get out of my way car. And I think if he wants to try to assert his will on the rest of the field, that he needs to show me something in St. Louis. You know, Jack Beckman has had a good car, finally closed the deal. John Force has got a great car. You know, Robert Height certainly could use a good bounce back run. But coming out of Reading, I tell you, in the two Pro Stock classes, Jerry Savoie right now looks like the man to beat. And not necessarily in qualifying, but for whatever reason, on Sunday, that thing really comes to life. And Jason Line, for the last three races, has had the best Pro Stock car on the property. If he can keep that going and, you know, go into St. Louis and be strong, doesn't have to win, but be strong. Go to the semis, have a good showing. Then I think, you know, that he starts getting a little bit more serious about it because, you know, from that point on, there's 4 races left. And if you got momentum on your side and you've got the points lead, then I think you're looking pretty good.
Kind of interesting. You mentioned Jerry. We could start there. Like the cat that swallowed the canary, like when we spoke with him in the past couple of weeks, and it's in the archive for our listeners to go back and check out those interviews, just like so excited and ready, ran a partial schedule and missed a lot of races, but the bike was out there and just has a swagger that he knows something that nobody else knows, that he studied for the test, an analogy that you use all the time, and nobody else did. And they're eager to get out to the racetrack. Meanwhile, it was a season where the V twins were dominating, Harley-Davidson's in particular. And all of a sudden, it's like, what did we watch during the regular season? Did none of that matter? And I guess we're finding out.
Yeah, and I think I put Andrew Hines on maybe not quite as critical as Steve Torrance, because Andrew still has had a pretty good bike, but in the regular season, Andrew was head and shoulders above the rest of the class. And the last couple of races, he has looked okay. Not spectacular, not really even great. He's just looked okay. So whether they can get back on track, I think that's one that a lot of people are going to be keeping an eye on, especially, the hardcore motorcycle fans. Angel has had a really, really good bike the last couple of races and doesn't have the results that I'm sure she wanted. And I think she now has a bike that she can be confident in, and she needs to get her confidence working, because that could be a dangerous combination. The first part of the year, I don't believe that she had a great motorcycle. And, Andrew Hines told me point blank when we were out in Sonoma, we need to give her a better bike. And she certainly has had a better bike the last couple of events. So she needs to get her confidence built up. And I think she's going to be a force to be reckoned with. And I guarantee you, everybody that's got the motorcycle is wondering, okay, is Matt Smith sitting on something, and when's he going to spring it on us like he did last year? And I don't know if he does or doesn't, but I know that, Matt's a really smart racer. And if he's got something that he's been holding back, he's not going to let it loose until he really has to. So that's going to be something a lot of guys will be keeping an eye on as well.
The twists and turns of the NHRA Countdown, I do feel that Angel, will win a race in this countdown at some point, because you're right. The bike is just driving hard, nice and straight. They sorted out all the issues. I'm sure it is challenging for any rider who's been on a bike that hasn't been comfortable to forget what it was like when it wasn't comfortable and just go with what they got now. I have no doubt she will. And it'll be interesting to see how that all plays out. But, the bike's wide open, 6-point lead for Jerry. Everybody's still in the mix. You mentioned Jason. Spoke with Jason last week, and it was funny how he's got a thing for Gateway. He wants vengeance on the track. And I was like, well, why, Jason? He's like, I owe that track one. And it was the site of his one DNQ, and he's still angry.
Racers have incredible memories. And, it's like engine builders. If you talk to an engine builder, he might not remember the races he won and the things, but he'll remember the time he was out in front and the motor broke. Or he'll remember the time that, he was on the run to get the pole and a valve spring broke. And racers are exactly the same way. They remember those things. It just sticks in your mind, especially when you're somebody like Jason who doesn't have a lot of them to remember. If a guy's D&Q'd 47 times in his career, one of them's not going to stand out. If a guy's DNQ'd one time in his career, he's going to remember that. And Jason really, really has a good car right now. I also think Jake Coughlin's got a good car, and I'm not jumping ship on what I said about Erica. I think that she's mad, and she's got a good car, and she's certainly going to be a factor in this. So it's going to be fun to watch.
John Gaydosh returning to the category this week, the second e-car mover car. I think that's a pretty smart move. I know that they've kind of had a rotisserie of drivers out there, and it's not a countdown story, but it's a pro stock story. People trying to get involved, more cars trying to get involved. And when you're trying to sort something out, I think it's best to have someone who's, made laps. And John has made laps. He's actually won some races on hole shots. He's had some strong performances when he was, wearing every hat. And it'll be interesting to see him back out there.
Yeah, if they're trying to get that car sorted out and they want to take one variable out of the equation, I think John's a real good guy to put behind the wheel and let him take a crack at it. We've seen it time and time again when you just beat your head against the wall for so long, and at some point it comes down to, okay, we have to find out what exactly is the problem. Is it the car? Is it the engine? Is it the shock absorbers? Is it the driver? And the only way to do that is to bring in a proven commodity. And you don't have to look any further back than, Jeg Coughlin, who is now driving the car that Roger Brogdon drove earlier in the year and looks completely different. And I'm not saying there was anything wrong with the car he was driving before, but I think that you at some point go, we have changed everything else. Let's try this. And whether it's because Jeg has more confidence, whether he's more comfortable, whether I don't know, but it's definitely, I think that's showing that for whatever reason, that combination wasn't working. And, you've seen it, that second e-car mover machine out there has been mediocre. And, they've had a couple of guys behind the wheel that do not have a whole lot of pro stock experience. So put somebody in there, not that John Gadosh is Warren Johnson, but put somebody in there that has made a lot of laps in the car. And so if he takes it out there and goes, guys, something's wrong, then, okay, let's go find the problem. But if he takes it out there and gives you a chance to get the car set up, now you can put the other driver back in and realize all we've got to do is train him. We're not chasing 2 or 3 different problems.
Yeah, totally. It makes sense, to eliminate just X factors. That's all. And no disrespect to anybody. It's great that we have more people getting seat time, and ultimately down the road, that'll be good for the class. But John is an experienced guy. He's been down the track many times. And I'm counting 20 cars on the Pro Stock entry list. The Quadra family going to be back out there in force, and Wally Stroop and Steve Graham right in the middle of the country. Pretty neat to have 20 Pro Stockers. One that I'm watching, though, Greg Anderson. Back to that story before. It might not be a must-win, but it's definitely must-go rounds kind of race.
Yeah, he's got to do something. And, there have been a lot of strong cars out of the Summit camp. Greg, when we were out on the Western Swing, looked like, okay, they fixed it. He's back. And over the course of the last couple of races, it's like, okay, where'd he go? Because he just had it a week ago. And I think it just goes to show you how difficult it is to continue to race at a high level and do it week in and week out. And it doesn't take much to break your rhythm or to get you out of sync or however you want to put it. And throw you off a little bit. And in pro stock, a couple of hundredths of a second is a lot. So if they're missing something, they need to find it. If they've changed something, they need to change it back. Knowing Greg and Jason, they have not been just sitting around for the last 10 days, moping about what we're going to do with Greg's car. They've been out there trying to figure out what's going on. Why is Jason's car so good? Why is Greg's car not so good? And how are we going to fix this? The thing that you worry about is, making Jason's car more like Greg's instead of making Greg's car more like Jason's, because everybody in pro stock has been through that at one point. I got one car that's really good, one car that's not so good. Let's go figure out how we can make them both the same, and you end up slowing down the fast one. It's just one of those things that is one of the beautiful, aggravating things about pro stock.
Yes. Well, the whole thing is amazing. I know it's one of your favorite categories, if not your favorite. Not that we have to have favorites, but just that, the micro level that everything comes down to. And then at the end of it, you got 10 cars separated by a couple of thousandths of a second on the qualifying sheet, and they're not doing everything the same way. It's pretty amazing and fun, and I'm sure very aggravating and annoying at times as well.
That's it, and talking to Jason after the win last week, when they handed him the time slip, and I said, what'd you look at first, the reaction time or speed? He said, no, speed. He said, I knew the reaction time sucked. And, the engine guy always wants to know, how much time as you spend at the top end of the racetrack, Jason gets out of the car, what speed did it run? It's like, hey, you're number one qualifier. He said, what speed did it run? All I want, what speed did it run? He's an engine guy. And so, just one of the things that he is focused on. And it's all part of the puzzle. It's all part of the equation. You got to get it all working together.
See, that's actually a difference between your era down in the top end and my era at the top end, because really he just says, get out of the way because we have an ET slip printer down there, and just kind of pushes me out of the way and looks at his own slip and doesn't even include me on the deal. But that's another story. Funny car.
Get the slip and hold it behind your back.
Exactly. Guess what it was, Jason. But yeah, we put a slip printer down there, and it just fundamentally changed the game. Funny car, 18 cars. So we're going to have full field. It's going to be interesting. A little show within a show in terms of qualifying. Blake Alexander going to be back out there, and that's good. It's been a little while since we've seen Blake, and he's right in the middle of it. I'm kind of interested. Saw, Robert Height after the race last week, and he was just kind of hanging out, and I just looked at him and gave the look, and he looked at me and he said, "We'll be okay." And he could just read my face, like, "You going to be okay?" And he's like, "We're going to be okay." Just that moment is courtesy of the countdown. Like the intensity that all these teams are going through, we can't overstate it. That's why it's fun, but they're all feeling it.
Well, I'm waiting to see what Jack Beckman offers me to do a little fun Facebook video with him this week, because 6 final rounds over the course of the season, hadn't won one until last week. He and I did a little fun Facebook video and he won. So I don't think there's any question that was the thing that's been missing from Jack and his team. So this week, if he wants to do it again, he's going to have to pay me, and I'm wondering what it's going to be. But that's talked about a little bit ago. That's a really good car. John Force got a really good car. Robert obviously has got a really good car. I think that a lot of people are kind of waiting for Hagan to snap out of it a little bit, because he has not had the performance that we're used to seeing out of that thing consistently over the last few races. There's a lot of guys that say, "Okay, I've got all my countdown stuff set aside." Well, okay, if you had one race to get back in the comfort zone, then now's the time to show me what you got. And Ron Capps has got a really good car out there as well. I think that it's going to be a heck of a fight down to the wire for these guys.
The Capps 339, still discussion going on about it, and I've watched it run over and over again, the in-car and everything. I know Bobby Bennett's got a story on Comp Plus about, the rules makers are ready if they have to do anything with the speed. And I get it. I understand. But when I come home and I flip through my Facebook page and I see the scoreboard picture in 20 different places, fans, crew members, people who are there, just so excited to post a number on a board, to me, that's good for the sport. So, I don't know why or where or how. There were a couple of big speeds out there. Bob Tasca, the 335. Gateway is a place where we could see some big numbers if we get the right weather conditions. I'll be kind of following up on that story.
Yeah, and I haven't even looked at the weather for Gateway, but, we've been there when it's been baking, and we've been there when it's been Disneyland, and we've been there when you needed a snorkel. So I'm hoping it's not snorkel, but if it's something else, then we'll deal with it. And if the weather comes in, that place is as fast as any place. So we'll see what Mother Nature gives us.
Yeah, I just looked it up. You don't want to know.
Okay.
There's little shapes and stuff. I don't put any stock into this weather. That's why I don't look.
What
do they know? They don't know nothing. Come on, get out of here.
It's going to do whatever it's going to do, and there's nothing I can do about it, so that's why I don't look.
And so much fun to be had at the track regardless. Like those people out there in Maple Grove walking around, meeting everybody, hanging out, participating, the Nitro schools, all the different things going on. And, oh, by the way, there's also racing.
Oh, speaking of Nitro School, I'm glad you mentioned that because you reminded me of something. For those of you who are fans of the motorcycle class, Pro Stock Motorcycle School is going to take place on Friday, and my co-professor is Tim Kalungian.
Oh, wow. So
if you want to ask questions, if you want to delve deep into the mechanics of how these things work, that's a really smart dude that has obviously won a lot of races, and he's got definitely the best Suzuki, if not the best motorcycle on the property right now. He, of course, is Jerry Savoy's crew chief. So that's something to put on your agenda for Friday.
Kalungian is a very interesting character. If we're doing profiles of people in the NHRA, he is definitely a worthwhile profile in that, his mental process is a little different than most others. The way he thinks about things, the things that he considers, not just, mechanically, but in life. I think that is going to be great. I'm going to have to sneak over there for that. Pro Stock Motorcycle School on Friday. See, a reason you got to be out there on Friday at Worldwide Technology Raceway at Gateway. Clay Millican, looking at Top Fuel now. 88 points out of the lead. Sitting ninth. But
Clay Millican needs to win a race.
Yeah. I feel like they're there.
They're in the same position that they were in before when he was just dominating everything over on the other side of the fence, and they'd come over here and make an appearance now and then. They certainly run well enough. They certainly go rounds. They've been to final rounds, but they need to win a race. I think that the team, Clay Millican, once he found out that, yes, I could win a race, it kind of changed the whole demeanor of that team when David Grubnick was over there and when they had that whole group together. But now that Mike is back, and now that the team has changed, they need to win a race just to give themselves that confidence boost. They've got a really good car. They just need to go out and prove they can close the deal. I think Brittany's car is great. Obviously, who knows what would have happened without the oil leak, but I think it's a pretty safe bet to say she would have been in the final since Richie Crampton went out and smoked the tires on his single run. And, whether she would have beat Doug or not beat Doug, who's to say, but they got a really good car right now. We talked about already, Torrance needs to get healthy weekend. Not saying he's got to win the thing, but he needs to come back and show that he's got his car back, because he certainly hasn't shown it the last couple of events. And I think, I don't see as many horses in the Top Fuel race for the championship as I do in either the Pro Stock race or the Funny Car race, for that matter.
No, I would agree with that. It's interesting to think about David Grubnick and the Clay Millican David Grubnick connection, right? In that Grubby was with Clay and everything was great. Grubby went off to go to Force, and who can blame him? Now has set the world record at both, on two different cars. Clay has got a great combination, and they look like they're running pretty well and can mix it up. Grubnick, though, wow, his crew chiefing arc is still at the very beginning. He hasn't really been calling the shots on these cars for that long, and he's just right at the top of the game. But the question about Grubby has always been, tuning to win races as opposed to tuning to hit the home run, which he's got down clearly. He's getting his chance to do it right now, right? He and his driver, Brittany, right in the middle of it, sitting second, 33 points back. And he's been saying, how many times has he told me, Alan, on the starting line, well, we're working on stuff leading up to now.
Yep, and, he's always been in a position before. Remember, he finished third in the points last year and was in the championship conversation, right up until Steve Torrance just ran everybody over. But, they've had a good race car. David has had a good combination for the last couple of years, and he's in a situation now that I think may be a little bit more advantageous, because when he was working for Clay, Clay once famously said, we don't even have a drill press. Everything we have on our car, we buy from somebody else. So, they were buying obviously engine components, but they were buying clutch components. They were buying all of the magical stuff that you use to make one of those cars run. And being at Forces now, where they have the machine shop, if David has always had this idea about, hey, I'd really like to try a little bit of a different clutch finger, or I'd really like to try a little something different here or there, he now has the capability to get that stuff made and manufactured for him. And I think that's one of the things that has made Alan Johnson so good for so many years, is he has the ability to manufacture whatever he wants, whatever he needs. And if he wants, if he thinks that, hey, I've got an idea, then they can make it work. When Brian Karate was over at Schumacher's shop, and it's kind of funny, I know a couple of guys in the fab shop over there, they said it was, the funniest thing, because the fab shop, at least in theory, is all for one for all. We make parts for our teams with, and everybody shares everything. But the number of times that a Brian would come in, or a John Medlin would come in, or a Guido would come in and go, hey, do you think you could make just a couple of these for me? I just want to try something, and don't necessarily want to spill my secrets with everybody else. But David now is in a situation where if there's something that he wanted to try, wanted to do different, he now has the ability to have it made. And I really believe that's going to help the consistency of the race car. And I think Brittany's had a pretty good consistent race car for most of the year. Obviously the regular season, Steve Torrance was head and shoulders above everybody else. But he certainly looks like he's backed up to the field a little bit, at least the last couple of races.
Yes, certainly the case. And, another note on Grubnick that people might not realize or think about, previously, Doug Stringer's team, they're not a low-budget team, but they're we need to consider the budget kind of team. Whereas over there at Force, if he has to go into full-down meltdown mode, he can. He doesn't want to, but he could if he wanted to, which is a little different.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. But, David Grubnick has the mentality, I think, kind of like Dick LaHaye had for all those years. He's never going to forget when he was on such a budget that he couldn't afford to blow things up. Dick LaHaye, no matter how big the budget was, no matter who he was working for, if his car blew the blower off of it, he was really mad. If his car had the rods out of it, he was really mad, because he just doesn't do that. You don't have to blow stuff up to win races, was his mentality, and David feels the same way. Every time I've ever seen him, what was it? was it Reading? Was it Indy? Someplace where the car ran pretty good and knocked the blower off of it. And I was, hey, you must be happy. No, I'm not happy. It blew up. Did you see what happened to my car down there?
Yes.
And he's never going to trade, I blew the blower off of it for low ET and be okay with it. He wants the car to come back in one piece, and that's just his mentality.
Makes sense. It's going to be very fun. 19 fuelers entered for this weekend's action. Guys like TJ Zizzo going out there, Pat Dakin going out there, right in the middle of the country. It's going to be wild to watch and see how it all plays out. Alan, excellent work talking Mellow Yellow Drag Racing Series. Any final thoughts before we let you go and get ready to head out to St. Louis?
No, I just got to get some laundry done and take a nap and get on an airplane and head back out. I've got a press conference to do early in the week, and I just had a customer walk into my shop this morning and say, hey, any chance you can make a couple of these? I don't need them right now, just as long as I have them by the end of the week, which means I got to get them done today. So
exactly.
I'm going to dive back into the lathe and make a couple of trim rings for a guy, and then I'm going to get back after race mode and get ready for St. Louis.
Just don't share that guy's secrets with the other guys, okay? It's got to stay top secret, whatever it is.
Just making a couple of trim rings, custom dash on a street rod. So
very nice.
Not exactly magic clutch fingers.
Got it. Makes perfect sense. Alan, great job as usual. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Joe. Safe travel. Look forward to seeing you out there in the City of the Arch.
Thanks, Alan. There he goes. The voice of the NHRA. Alan Reinhart joins us each week right here on WFO Radio. Yes, he carries around the $2 bills, but the cupcake thing. And that's what people don't understand about Alan Reinhart, some people, is that the guy's very well thought out. He's always thinking, like, what's a cool thing that I can do that will make things more fun for the racers? And he spends a lot of time thinking about the racers, and that is good advice to all you, not only, announcers out there, but customer service people. Really, that's customer service to the NHRA racer. The people that went out to the divisional race, they had a good time, they got a cupcake, they're like, wow, this was great, maybe I'll come back. That kind of deal. So good job by Alan. And here we go, race 2, NHRA Countdown. St. Louis, baby, which the City of the Arch. I went to the Arch a couple of years ago. I tried to go up in the Arch. I got there at 4:58, and they closed at 5, and they said no. And I was like, why? And they're like, well, it's 5 o'clock. It's 4:58. They're like, well, by the time you walk over there, the last elevator would have gone up, and that's it. So no. I was very disappointed. It was very disappointing. I have not been up in the Arch. Should I go up in the Arch this time? I don't think so. I think I'm banning the Arch. I'm protesting the Arch. I'll look at it. Don't get me wrong. But do I need to go up in it? Nah, I don't think so. I went up to One World Trade Center, okay? I looked out over the entire northeastern part of the United States of America. I've been up in a lot of things. The Stratosphere. I was in the High Roller. There was a lot of stuff. I don't need to go up in the Arch if they don't want me. 4:58. And they stopped me and my great friend Carl Franklin from going in, and we were both very disappointed. Sad. Why am I complaining right now, years later? I don't know. It's obviously passive-aggressive, right? Built up inside. I apologize. What am I talking about? But you better get there early if you want to go. That's just saying. Now, the good news is we did get to go see Cubs Cards. That was nice. Big rivalry right there. All right, moving on. It's going to be a great week of shows. You're going to get a lot of great WFO content, a lot of fun stuff. The Ignition Show is going to be fantastic. A Ferrari 1-2, first time that has happened in a long time. Everybody's going to be going crazy. Going to talk Haas F1. Of course, NASCAR, Martin Truex Jr. winning back-to-back. All that's going on. But I know you guys are focused, as am I, on the NHRA Mellow Yellow Drag Racing Series. So here's who's up. Steve Torrence, the champ in Top Fuel. Is his back against the wall? Are they confident? What's up in the team? They haven't had a good race in a while. You're going to hear Steve Torrence on WFO. And I'm thrilled that Steve has agreed to come on the show. Steve on WFO. Also on WFO. The Funny Car World Champ, J.R. Todd. J.R., similar situation, but not really. 90 points out of the lead, semifinal, first race out. What about him? Championship title defense. Where are they at? What do they think? What are they doing? What are they navigating? I really believe that in all sports, the champion of the sport is the face of the title defense. And we have to track these people, JR, Steve Torrence, with more intensity than just a rival, another contender. These guys did it last year. Will they do it again? That's the story. Because winning one time is one, that's great. Winning back-to-back, that's another thing altogether. Also on the show this week, WFO Podcast. Click subscribe. Spotify, Apple Podcast, WFO Radio app. It's free. for iPhone and Android. Austin Prock. We got a lot of great guests this week. Austin Prock, what does he say about the championship? Just saw his teammate, Brittany Force, throw it down, an unbelievable record run. His boss, John Force, doing very well. We're gonna talk to Austin about his run for the Rookie of the Year and potentially even more. That will all be on WFO, plus WFO Ignition. Click subscribe, all that stuff. And it happens because of our great sponsors like TotalSeal.com, Total Seal Piston Rings, the leader in ring seal technology, MagicDryUS.com. We got a lot of .coms because we have listeners from all around the world, from Australia to the UK to United States, right? Miami, Florida. You can use Total Seal. You can use Magic Dry. You can certainly go to Frank Hawley's Drag Racing School, and you can get a little Rodax Coffee and Grills.com. Yeah, that's the official Rodax sound effect, which is also used by Windows Defender. And Samtech.edu. Thank you, Samtech, for supporting it. You really should listen to Factory Stock Podcast. It is up. It is available by the time you're hearing this. Mark Powick, Cowboy, talks about his team, the Mopars. Are they back? Are they contending? Can they win? And Chris Vang for Kramer Racing, meaning Dave Kramer in Factory Stock Showdown and Derek Kramer in Pro Stock, going to talk about his time at Samtech and also what he does on all of those cars and what he thinks about the situation in Factory Stock Showdown, plus Brian Massengill, and we'll discuss the 2020 schedule, samtech.edu. All right, more WFO coming your way. Thank you, everybody.
WFO! The views and opinions of the hosts, guests, or callers do not necessarily reflect that of the station ownership, advertisers, or agencies.
I love WFO radio.
Oh, yeah.
We're talking gourmet coffee, we're talking hot sauces, we're talking spice rubs, we're talking everything good at RodaxCoffeeandGrills.com. Marvin Rodak, been doing it since the 70s, figured out that life is better with great coffee, and oh, he's so right. 817-924-6821. Call Marvin. He'll roast up some coffee fresh for you. Throw in some hot sauce, some spice rub, and you will be loving it. Hit him up, RodaxCoffeeandGrills.com. Your education. What are you going to do with your life? That is what it's all about. And Samtech.edu can help you figure it all out. The School of Automotive Machinists and Technology always says start your education at full speed because they will get you in, get you started, get you learning rapidly. The school is located in the Houston, Texas area. They've got a great campus. They're always expanding. But most importantly, their relationships within the performance industry is what sets them apart. We're talking about block programs, head programs, CNC programs, motorsport EFI tuning, all part of Samtech. They can even help persons that are eligible under the GI Bill. Go to the website, samtech.edu, or call 713-683-3817. Would you rather do something you love as your job? I know I would. Samtech.edu. The one thing that top drag racing teams agree on is Hankstafers.com. Hankstafers metalworking lubricants are going to make you more efficient in the machine shop. It's going to save your tools, it's going to improve your surface quality, and it's going to make you quicker and more efficient. Go to Hankstafers.com to find out more information. Hankstafers metalworking lubricants since 1937.
Subscribe to WFO Radio on iTunes. Never miss a show. And don't forget to write a review. WFO.
This is WFO Radio.